In this episode of the Founders Lounge, we go somewhere a little bit different. It is not on Zoom. I'm actually recording this one in person inside a salon. I get to talk to the founder, owner and director of Air Hair Studio in Toowoomba. Tracy Pitts is somebody that I've been working with for the last 6 months, and their team in the salon on personal development and upskilling the professional and personal side of being an artist and a creative within the beauty and hair industry. The Tracy is a fascinating woman who has a 30-year career in this sector, but also shares her perspective as a business owner on what she's done throughout the years to continually upskill, manage her life, her business, and everything that goes in between all of that. I hope you enjoy my discussion with Tracy.
So we are going to be having a chat today, or I'm going to be having a chat with the wonderful Tracy, who is the owner and founder of Air Hair Salon Studio up here in Toowoomba. And the reason I get to chat with you is because we've done some work together, but I'm really interested in hearing about your founding story, how you started the business, why you started the business now, because this is not a new business for you. You've been doing it for how long?
I've had the salon 14 years.
So there you go, 14 years. It is not brand new. But I wanted to basically, if you give us a little bit of an introduction. So what is the salon to you? What does it mean to you? It's never just a business. And then we'll go into the story about how you started and how you kicked off having your own business.
Okay, fantastic. Well, I've had Air Hair Studio for about 14 years from now. And before I bought the salon, I also worked for a company called Redken for 10 years.
Yep.
So my background with Redken was really in training, so teaching, training, and so that really inspired my passion, I guess. So Air Hair Studio for me was always, the goal was, could I manage 15 people? That was my target. Would I be able to put everything that I learned in theory, working for other people's businesses, coaching and teaching other people's businesses, would I be able to actually put that into practice for myself?
In your own. Yeah.
In my own. So for me, it was very much about collecting a group of people who could individually succeed and therefore make the business succeed as a whole.
Right.
So it was very much about that ability. Could I manage? Could I coach? Could I teach? Could I set up an environment where individual people succeeded, and then we all succeeded together, and I could do what I always wanted, which was to be able to have a seat at the table, to be able to have a say, to be able to be financially rewarded for the hard work that I did, to be able to have my own dreams fulfilled within a team without having to go and do that on their own, for a team of people to be able to do that in one environment. So that was really my goal.
So for you, it's always more been about that professional and personal development of others, because I know you invest heavily here and are committed to ongoing training.
Yes, very
much
so.
So it wasn't always about just starting a business and having a salon as an owner. That wasn't the driver for you.
Well, for me, right from the beginning, when I started my apprenticeship when I was 15, and I did lots and lots of training. And I did, when I was 17 or 18, I think I did a, train the trainer course, and then I did Toastmasters. So I very much got into that, leadership, self-development, personal development stuff.
So you've always been personally interested in that?
Personally interested.
Yeah.
And then personally, I went and sourced out lots of that sort of stuff as well. And I worked for some amazing women throughout my time, and men. And I just found that the more you learnt about yourself and how you communicated and how you communicated with others, and learning how to find success in different personalities, then the better it became. So then for me, I really believed that as a business, if I could invest into my people and into my team and teach them how to be happier, and the more successful they were as a person, then the more successful they were as a staff member. So that system has really worked well. And business is very much a little bit about hair and a lot about relationships.
Yeah, so that's the bit I'm interested to talk to you about. Obviously, people from the front see a salon, people come and get their hair done, and that's it. But for you, what is it? You just said it's all about the people, but what does that actually mean? What do your customers come here for?
It's about connection, and it's about experience, and it's about a relationship, and it's about how you make people feel ultimately. So you can say two things to people. You can say the same thing and two different ways, and it will be a good experience and it will be a bad experience, but you're technically saying the same thing.
Yes.
So it's very much about teaching everyone how to make people feel good, and that sounds so simple, yet is so hard.
How did you learn that? Obviously, you would have did you have a good mentor in your early days in your apprenticeship? Who did you learn this from?
It wasn't so much through my apprenticeship for me. It was probably outsourced through some other people that I've dealt a lot with. I've worked with a great guy called Alan Parker, who owns a company called Peak Performance. He's a neuroscientist who just does so much on language and the language that you use, and all the traditional things, your NLP, like what you say, what you feel, what you hear, the ability to really listen, to be able to remove yourself from a conversation, to be able to pause. Worked with another great lady called Jill Rigney, who I've brought in, and I've taken the girls away for a couple of years in a row and done a weekend training with her. And just really understanding stuff that we've done in the past, which is, disc profiling, personality profiling.
Yeah, so we've done the disc profile with the team. We have talked about love languages at work, in the workplace, in a work team, and how that translates into relationships and how they operate out here in the salon. The reason I'm pointing is because we're in the office while everybody is setting up the salon for the day.
We did some Myers-Briggs training.
Yes.
So very much I would think that's probably been the biggest impact on the team and myself personally, because I have a very strong personality, very direct, very upfront. If it comes into my head, it comes out of my mouth. There's no guessing.
Which is a traditional entrepreneur trait. So especially as a leader, is having that really big, strong personality. Like you said, there's often not a lot of filters, but you've had to obviously work hard to make sure there is filters in place, because what happens if you don't?
Well, there was a really good example is I've got the salon splits into two, and it always has. So there's half the salon that are like myself, creative, outgoing, direct, fast-paced, quick thinking, verbal diarrhea, that sort of stuff.
Yes.
Who can be a little bit in your face to a lot of people. And then there's another half of the salon that are quieter, more conservative. They like more routine. They like process driven. They don't like confrontation.
Yes.
So it was very much learning not how to make those people cry on a daily basis. And
which is a big thing, right? And it's ongoing.
Yeah, it is. And then also for them, learning how to accept the stronger personalities.
That it's not a personal attack.
It's not personal. No.
It's just a style, and it doesn't, even though it doesn't work with them and how they're receiving the information, it's not a personal attack.
And also really as a leader, understanding that you need all of those people to make a team work.
Yes.
So, a whole salon of me would be a disaster.
Yes.
A whole salon of, quiet, methodical, rule following also doesn't work.
No.
So you need to have a combination of those, but you need to know how to get the best out of those people. So
absolutely.
I have learnt now, I've got this great young stylist who works for me. If I have a conversation like this with her, she bursts into tears.
Too much, too close?
Too much. So, I've just learnt to have a conversation a different way. We'll have a conversation while we're washing up, and it's much more, how do you feel about that? Oh, that was good. Yeah, great. Where I've got other ones that I'm like, what the hell? And if I don't get in their grill, they don't hear it.
Yes.
So it's learning different ways to manage that, and finding a position for them, like not making that person do that job that they're uncomfortable with, make them shine with their own skill set, and then make the person who's this shine in her own way, and kind of just put all the jigsaw puzzles together and then manage all of that.
Yes. How do you find working with a full team of all women?
Great.
Yes. So it's obviously got its pluses and minuses. Talk us through that.
It
what
does.
that's like.
Yeah. I mean, we're very lucky. We've got a great team of girls, but we put lots of work into it. So lots of, having you come along every 6 weeks. I take the girls away. As I said, we invest a lot in understanding each other, and we run a pretty tight ship culturally wise in the salon. So we have lots of codes of conducts. We have lots of policies and procedures, but policies and procedures are just words on a wall or in a book if they're not broken down regularly. What does that mean? What does acting with integrity mean?
Yes.
And then pulling it up when it doesn't happen. So saying, hey, last week when this happened, that's, probably not how we would go about things in a nice sort of way. So for the girls, I find as long as it's very much that, we don't triangulate. If you have a problem with someone, you need to deal directly with them. Have very much an open door policy, and I try to be very accessible and approachable so that they can come to me, and I always listen to whatever they have to say, which is really hard too.
It is hard. Yeah.
I have to, I physically sit on my hands.
Yes.
And I bite my tongue, and often there's lots of internal chatter that goes.
Challenges that you've had to really just.
Yeah, you have to go, really? But you go, okay, well, thanks very much for giving me that feedback, and that's I'll take that on board and let me think about that and see what I can do to get back to you. So very much then it's very hard to listen to things from another person's perspective, and it's real from them, although it might not be valid to me. And then I probably find the biggest thing that works for us in a team is that you just have to deal with the problems straight up. So
straight away, not leave too much time, go between.
Learning how to have difficult conversations and having them straight up. So I find and that's, people talk about having trust in a leader and trust in the team, and that's where the trust comes from. If there's an issue, they can come to me and they know that I will deal with it.
Yes.
If one of the greatest things that I learnt was about, and I could never understand this process that would happen in the salon, where I was trying to deal with situations that didn't fit our team quietly and privately.
Yep.
And the team just kept getting frustrated with me, and that frustration of this one particular staff member just kept getting higher and higher.
Yes.
Until I learnt that I knew I was dealing with it, but the team didn't realise I was dealing with it.
So how do you manage that, and how do you communicate that that's happening, that you are dealing with it?
That you are dealing with it?
So that everybody feels like, okay, is this being addressed, or are you just ignoring this?
Yeah.
Yep.
So I discovered that you had to, I learnt that you had to address it publicly. And
so
I was
that
like,
it's communicated what's
how do you
happening.
address something publicly without, to kind of, I was thinking publicly means chastising in front of everyone.
No.
And it didn't. And it was very much a technique I learnt, I guess, which was publicly, it might be at a staff meeting, it might be whatever, that it's addressed generically in front of everyone. So, I just want to talk a little bit about, people running late in the salon, and just go back through to what that means to us. So, how does everyone feel when someone's running late in the salon or is constantly late? How does it impact you?
So that's telling the person who has been late that that you're addressing it, but it's also telling everyone else who is being impacted by the late person that you're also dealing with it, and that everybody is being told at once.
Yes, very much so. That's kind of step one. And then step two might be, Peter, can I just see you after the meeting? And everyone goes, okay, Peter's having a meeting with Tracy. So everyone knows. No one knows what goes on in that meeting, but everyone knows what's going on in that meeting, because everyone knows what the behaviour is.
Okay.
So that's the thing that I've discovered, is everyone knows everything. So if someone's not pulling their weight or not doing the right thing, everyone knows. And I always find out somehow, even if I wasn't there. Even if I wasn't there all week, I still find out. So it's just about dealing with it. And sometimes I do that. I take the girls away. My catch up for breakfast. We might go for lunch.
Get off site, get away from the salon.
And then very much go, tell me what's going on. How's that working? What's this happening? And we have that conversation, and it's dealt with then and there, and everyone knows.
Yes.
So everyone has that trust that if there is an issue, it's dealt with.
Yes. Yeah. And that's more around the people side, the culture side, the leadership, management. What about you in business? So over the years that you've been in business, you've had to learn business. So you knew how to sell, you knew how to train, you knew hair.
Yes.
And then you had a salon with rent and the commitments and overheads and managing the cash flow and pandemics and busy times and quiet times. What has been some of the biggest challenges that you've faced as a business owner? Not people related, but more of the business and you managing those things.
Managing business. Well, for me, I always had a real chip on my shoulder that I left school in grade 10.
Yes.
And academically, I can't use the computer very well. I can't set up an Excel spreadsheet, any of those sorts of things. And again, one of the things that I learned early on in life is to surround yourself by people who are better than you.
Yes.
And to build a team of people that have skills that are different to what you have.
Yes.
So I'm very good with people. I'm very good at leading a team. I'm really crap at the office sort of stuff.
Yes.
As in the technical part of that.
Yep.
So business is two things. It's being able to see ahead of the game and push forward and always be 3 months in advance.
Yes.
So there's a huge lag time in business. So if you are reactive instead of proactive, you're always going to be behind.
Yes.
So staff shortages have been an issue. Like I've been working on that, a system for that, trying to bring in some overseas people, which I'm like nearly 18 months down the track from, where if I started now, be too far behind. So you have to kind of be able to, or your social media or your marketing or your forward thinking or your training is about where will I be next year? What will the team look like next year? What sort of market? Renovating the salon, it's about being ahead of the game.
Yes.
The business side of things is I employ people who help me with that. I've done it myself.
Yes.
But I find it's easier to employ someone who can do the wages, who can pay all the bills for me, do that sort of stuff. And my skill set is better off
leading the people.
Yeah, doing what I'm good at, because it takes me 5 hours to set up a spreadsheet and it takes someone else 3 minutes.
Yes.
So time cost money-wise, but I'm very much all over everything. So ever since I've owned the salon, I've run a weekly profit and loss.
Yep.
So not the MyOb, not the computer thing, but every day, every week, I hand write out every bill that I've paid.
Right.
And
So you still do that manually now?
I still manually do that now.
And what does that give to you? What does that give you? Obviously, that's a mental clarity thing. You want to have transparency.
Means that I know exactly what it costs to open my doors. I know exactly how much money needs to come in, because I know exactly how much money goes out every week. So it's not the profit and loss. Doesn't take into consideration depreciation and my car or stuff like that. It's just, I need this much money to come into the till, because I know that, I paid the insurance this week and I, had to buy milk and paper and toilet paper and I know how much my wages are and my fixed costs and my variable costs. So I have a feeling, I know if I don't produce this much money, then I don't have enough for this much. And it really helps keep that weekly drive of focus of exactly what I need to come in and to go out. And I'm really conscious of everything that goes out. Like I know we use too much toilet paper, or I know how much stock we need to use, and you need to be all over that.
Yes.
So I'm constantly, how much product did you use for that, or how much time did you take for that, or how much did you charge that
I
client?
suppose, does it allow you to course correct during the week? So obviously you sell services, so obviously people come in here and get their hair done, but you also sell product. Is that a personal driver for you to go, okay, we need to up our product this week, or we're a bit low, or we've had bigger expenses, so do you do proactive sales, or is it very much you wait for because it's a very much a solid clientele who are, I would call them members almost, because
Yes.
they're committed and they repeat.
Yes.
So does the transparency on a weekly basis, knowing where you're at, be the driver to go and sell more? And no.
Very much not. So I very much work on, I'm going to teach you how to look after your client really well, 100% of the time, 100% of the clients. And if you do your job properly and you look after each client to the best of your ability, then the dollars will look after themselves.
Right.
So whenever you have a transaction that becomes money transactional, then it becomes insincere, and clients see through that really quickly, and you lose your integrity, or you lose your your honesty within that. So I find, and I've done it in the past, and I've worked for people who've done it in the past as well. And it becomes a money-making situation rather than a care situation, and then it changes the dynamic. It also makes the girls driven on force rather than driven on skill. But teaching someone that skill is really hard. So it requires lots of teaching. It requires lots of follow-up. It requires lots of, what did you use on that client? Oh, nothing. Oh, okay. So they didn't need anything? Okay, so what could have you used on her? So I followed that up a lot. How come you didn't talk to that client about that? But that's because then that person's not doing their job, not because they're not selling.
Yep.
And that's the difference. So yes, my girls have got bonuses and they've got targets, and they get financially rewarded for the product that they sell. But that is because the targets I set for them lets me know that they're doing their job.
Yes.
So if they're not reaching the targets, then they're not talking to their clients. And if they're not talking to the clients, they're not doing their job. They're not servicing. And then that client's going to go somewhere else because they're going to be better looked after somewhere else. So it kind of works in that way.
I can see that. And especially, I mean, here in Toowoomba, even this morning, I did an early morning walk, and I think I would have counted about 20 salons in a very small CBD.
Yes.
I know the population is here. So talk me through, how do you stand out? Because it is a busy space, and it's something that, you know, with the future of technology, automation, different innovations, we still need people to actually do our hair. So it's not like you're going to be phased out.
Yes.
But how do you separate yourself? How do you stay ahead of the game? How do you differentiate from your competitors that are popping up there front and center? I'm sure you would see them come and go.
Yes.
Because you've been here for a while and you're solid with the large clientele. So what do you do?
It's not one thing, it's lots of things. And you have to be across all of them is the difficult part of it. So I say there's 3 layers, and I always explain it like a cake.
Yes.
So you've got the cream and the strawberries and the chocolate coating and all of that sort of stuff. So that's your brand awareness. So that's what the salon looks like. It's your Facebook page, it's your website, it's your Google search, it's, my local search, it's your old-fashioned yellow
social
pages,
media.
It's your social media. So that is what gets that out. And that's nearly a full-time job.
Yes.
Making sure that all your search engines, and you understand where you get new clients from. Do you get them from Google? Do you get them from walk past?
Yeah,
do you get them
of
from
course.
recommendations? So how do you, I always say, how do you fill the bucket? How do you get people to come in the door?
Yes, how they're finding you.
And then once they're in the door, another 2 things need to happen. The meat of the pie. Is the skill set. So you've come in, you've Googled us, you've researched us, you've found, that salon looks like me, it's got the right vibe, it looks edgy. When I Googled best hairdressers in Toowoomba, it
came
popped
up. Read a review.
Yeah, read a review. So that section's done. Then you come in and you meet me. So then I need to know how to communicate with you, ask you all the right questions, welcome you, make you feel good, and I need to know how to cut and colour your hair. My skill level needs to be high.
Yes.
So I need to have gone to seminars, I need to have gone to training, I need to be upskilled, I need to be good at what I actually do.
Yes.
So that's that part of it. And then the base that all of that sits on is the policies and procedures and I always say the rules of the salon. Because you could Google me and go, wow, awesome looking salon. Come in, I've given you the best haircut and colour you've ever had, but I didn't write down what I did. So next time you come in, go, best colour I've ever had, I go, I can't remember what I did. So I do something different. So that
or I might get somebody else, and it's a completely different experience.
And it's completely different. Or I charged you one price one time and I charged you a different price the next time because we've got a bit of a random pricing situation.
Yes.
Or this time you got last time you got the best coffee you've ever had.
Yes, or homemade treats is what you get here, and these amazing, beautiful stone cups.
Yeah.
Which this is the experience. It's all part of the experience.
It's all part of the experience.
Because you're sitting there for hours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so the difficult part is you might touch 5 different people. So you might have had a receptionist take an appointment. You might have had an apprentice greet you at the front. You might have had someone different shampoo you. You might have had a colorist. You might have and a stylist. And then you might have had a receptionist fix you up. So, all of those touch points need to be an awesome experience. So 4 out of 5 could be great, but the girl who washed your hair, wet you, didn't give you good shampoo, you got cold coffee, you weren't asked to rebook, you didn't ask to come back, there was no follow-up.
Yes.
Or alternatively, we could have done all of that great, but you've never heard of us because we've got
no presence.
No presence or no social awareness or so it really is all of those things, and they need to constantly be worked on all of the time to stay ahead of the game. Because if you let one of them go, you spend all your time on your Google search, but your skills has got a bit dated.
Yes.
Or you look fantastic, but no one really understands what customer service is.
Yes.
You're left cold and lonely.
Yes.
So it's across the board.
Yes.
And it's constant work.
So that's on you. It's on everyone in the salon, but it's then on you as well as being the observer to make sure all of that is happening.
Yes.
So in terms of hairdressing, you are a hairdresser fundamentally at the core essence of what you do.
Mm-hmm.
Now you were trained at some point, you've retrained, you've trained other people.
Mm-hmm.
Is that something that you need to keep investing in now? Is there new things being introduced all the time that you need to upskill on?
Hairdressing skill, absolutely, all of the time, because things change. Like in our day, like we streaked hair. Like I grew up learning how to perm hair. I'm probably one of the only hairdressers in Toowoomba who can still perm. So things constantly change. So what our girls don't even learn perming at TAFE anymore. So all of the catchwords that you would know, like face framing, balayage, root stretches, they went around 5 years ago. So you need to constantly evolve and change and keep up to date, keep edgy, keep current.
Yes. So that's it's one of those, I think it's a very unique industry because of the need to continuously retrain to stay there, but also make sure your people are always being retrained. But in terms of the business mindset for you managing this as a journey, you as yourself as a business owner, where did you go to get advice? You've said you've worked with a few different people, coaches. Do you have anybody in your inner circle, like your personal micro tribe who, is a confidant, someone you do downloads to? Yeah. How do you manage the relationship with yourself and your mind to cope?
So I have a group of 3 or 4 really good girlfriends of mine who, we've been friends. We kind of became friends in our early 20s, kind of around that Alan Parker learning. And all of us own different businesses.
So you were all in business?
Yeah, but very varied businesses. Different. So when I'm talking businesses, one of them owns a cattle property, one of them owns vets, another one owns multiple cattle properties, builders, all of that sort of stuff. But business is business and staff are staff.
Yes.
They're all the same.
Yes.
And so these girls are awesome, and we have this really good phone download thing on the way to usually school drop off, and it goes very simple like this. hey, Peter, what the hell? You won't believe what just happened to me yesterday.
Yes.
And they're like, lay it on me. And you're like, blah, 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 blah. I don't know what to do. And they're like, blah, blah, blah. Have you thought about this? Have you thought about that? Maybe you need to do this. I'm like, thanks very much. See you, bye.
Yes.
And we do that very
regular
much
check-in
for each other, where it's like, I just need some perspective because I'm going to kill her.
Yes.
Or like, I'm just about done. I can't do this anymore. And they give you that whole, have you thought about this? Try that. And they're excellent. We do that very much for each other.
Yes.
And they have been my absolute
rocks
and go-to. And like I said, I surround myself, like with you, I meet people and I think, you're cool, you're good at what you do, we're on the same page, we need to spend some time together. And it's not like, let's go to the beach and go fishing. It's like, tell me what I want to, like, teach me something.
Yes.
You've got
There's
stuff
an exchange.
that I could learn
Absolutely.
from you. And so when I find people like that excites me, I guess. And I always then think, right, how can I bring you into my business, and what could you teach? What skill set could you teach my team?
Yes.
And that works. And it's finding people who are really good at what they do, and then, using that, I guess.
Yeah. That's awesome. Before we wrap up, because we've got to go and spend some time with the team, what is one of the things you wish somebody had told you early on in business that would have made the journey maybe easier or a little bit more less hard, in terms of, is there anything that you continuously think, gee, I wish I had learnt this years ago?
It's something that I have learnt very much over the years, which again, if I'd known, is there's a couple of things. One is repeat. I just didn't realise how often you have to repeat yourself.
Yes.
It's like having children.
Yes.
You kind of go, I would have thought we discussed this last week.
Yes.
But let's discuss it again today. So it's constant. You just have to constantly repeat, your values or your teaching or your learning, or, we can have a huge discussion about customer service and then have it again the next day.
Yes.
So it is very much repeat, and that it's not personal.
Yes.
So all of the stuff that happens, it's not personal.
Yes.
So it's just people. So different people, everyone's doing the best they can with the skill set they have at the time. And it's very much learning that they weren't intentionally trying to piss me off.
No.
And so just letting that go and not taking that on board, learning to sort of be able to just park that at work.
Yes.
So for years and years ago, I would take that home.
Yes.
And I would stress about that, and I'd be awake all night, and I would take it I'd be very hurt, or I'd be very disappointed, or I would be very, how could you do that? I've done so much for you.
But it's not.
You let me down?
Exactly. It's just the way it is.
And it is. It's very much just the way it is. So once I learnt those sort of things, I think that really helped. And I just learnt, the biggest thing for me was misinterpretation of communication. So just have the conversation straight up, rather than spending 3 days being upset at home. Just think about what I want to say and say it straight up.
Yes.
Clear the air, get everything out on the table, everything to be what I call clean. So there's no miscommunication, whatever that is. And
start with a clean slate.
And then just move forward.
Awesome advice, and I think it definitely applies to lots of different people. But thank you for your time. We do have a workshop to deliver, and there's a salon to open today. So where can everybody find you? So we are based here in Toowoomba.
Yes.
And I always recommend people from Brisbane to come up for a weekend, do an overnighter, stay somewhere nice, come and get your hair done, come and meet the team. But in terms of socials, you're on Instagram?
Yes, Instagram,
Facebook,
and
then you've got your website.
We're in the city, so come visit us. That would be great.
Awesome. Thank you, Tracy.
So there you have it. It just goes to show you that those founder journeys can be so different. It doesn't really matter if you are an online business, if you are a founder and a business owner of a salon, of a training program, of a bricks and mortar business. There are all of the same challenges that most business owners face, and it's something that you just can't avoid. You have to go through it, whether it's managing people, managing customers' expectations, being able to upskill, reinvent yourself, always remain relevant for the market, and how to continuously educate yourself in being able to manage all of those things, all while providing quality services and products to your customer and maintaining your own personal career progression. And then in Tracy's case, looking towards the future and what's next and how she can personally remain relevant, interested, driven, and still being able to chase her own personal dreams. I hope you enjoyed that discussion as part of the Founders Lounge.